There we go. I think it's recording. So sorry if I have any technical faux pas. I'm used to using other technology. Great. Okay. Can everyone, I can't seem to see you guys. Oh, there we go. Can everybody see the screen? Okay, the presentation. I can get a, yeah, thumbs up. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So, as I mentioned, we are here at the leadership session for leadership skills. So, you are a leader and you don't even know it. If anyone knows what that is in reference to, then great. But you really are. And I hope that you're not like, oh, well, the next hour was wasted because I've got leadership skills. But you really have, because being part of Marrow, putting yourself forward, taking the initiative and all of the amazing things that you do show the brilliant leadership skills that you already have. But some of you might know that you're a great leader already, but hopefully this session, if you don't, will help you identify that you are. Also in this session, we're going to be covering what are leadership skills, how can they help in Marrow, and how can they help in life after Marrow. I hope that the session is going to be fun, engaging, interesting, and a really valuable use of your time. But like I said, for Marrow and for general life as well. Is there anything else that anybody would like to cover in this that they can see from that sort of vague agenda? If you would like to, come off mute if that's okay, because I can't really see the other screen. I think that's a no. So the first thing is, how are we feeling? So it's 6 p.m. on a Monday, and you've probably attended quite a few already, or if not, at least the welcome session. So if you would like to share in the chat function how you're feeling, so whether it's excited, curious, sleepy, please be honest, then let me know how you're feeling. And if you'd like to come off mute and say, I'm excited or something, then that'd be really good as well. Let me see if I can find the chat function. I can't seem to find the chat. Oh, here we go. Nope. Technology is failing me. Anyway, can anybody come off mute and share how they're feeling?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Naz. Nice to meet you all. I'm very excited to be here. It's my first session of the day because I was busy this morning. So yeah, good luck, Victoria.
Thank you. That's great. Cool. So yeah, might be first session, might be like the third by now. So hopefully you're all really excited for the session ahead. So probably a lot of you are thinking, who on earth am I? Because you recognise everyone from the Marrow team, and you're probably like, who's this girl about to lead this workshop for the next hour? Well, as I mentioned, I'm Victoria, and I grew up in Warwickshire, near the town of Stratford-upon-Avon, hence the photograph of Shakespeare. And I went to Cardiff University and studied business management between 2012 and 2015. I was in Marrow the whole time. So this is a picture of me in our group in 2012 when I was in first year. In second year, I was an advertising chair, and in third year, I was president. After university, I joined Marrow Alumni more recently, and I'm here representing Marrow Alumni. So there's a few Marrow Alumni workshops throughout the week, so new people and new faces that you might recognise. And after university in 2015, I started in the world of the corporate work for Nestle. So I've been working for Nestle for the last 5 years, and I started on the sales graduate scheme. So hello out there to any of you guys that are doing potentially non-medical or science-related degrees as well, but also hello to those of you that are, because it's applicable in all worlds of work and particularly in leadership. So through the Nestle graduate scheme, I've travelled and lived in different places. So I've lived in York, I've lived in Sheffield, I've lived in Switzerland, and now I live in London. And my job now is I'm the Amazon account manager. So feel free to laugh at me because I'm terrible with technology, but that isn't something to do with my job. And this is a picture of me in our filming studio when I lived in Switzerland in the head office for Nestle there. So that's a little bit about me. Sorry we're not in person and that I'm not able to meet all of you guys individually, but feel free to write a message at the end or anything. And obviously we're recording it, so it's great to know who's attended as well. So on to leadership skills. First of all, what is leadership? It's really good, I think, with most things to start with a definition. So leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organisation. And these are some of the words or the images, if you think in more pictures, that you might associate with leadership. But what I'd like you to think of is, who can you think of that is a good leader? They don't have to be someone that we all know, but they could be famous. Have a little think about people that you might resonate with, that you think are really good leaders. And if any of you would like to come off mute and shout out any people that you can think of, then please feel free to do so.
I think Michelle Obama is a good leader.
Yeah, definitely a very good leader. Very inspirational as well. Good one. Anybody else? No? So hopefully all of you are thinking of someone that you can identify as a good leader. And we had a great example of Michelle Obama. I've also thought of a few examples to spark your memory. If it's like 6 p.m, oh my God, she's trying to make me think. I thought I was going to be told everything about leadership. So some people, debatable, might think Alex Ferguson was a really good leader. Some of you might recognise this lady, Gloria Steinem, who was the leader of the ERA movement. Obama, so the other Obama, people might have thought that Barack was a really good leader, and Greta Thunberg as well. So quite high profile leaders, these guys, but you also might know people at university or in other walks of life that you think are really good leaders. I know this is pretty old school, but if any of you guys have a pen and paper in front of you, or a laptop or whatever works for you, then what I'd like you to do now is draw a stick person, or if you're really artistically skilled, draw an outline of that person that you're thinking of. And around it, I'd like you to write down things and traits that you think make them a good leader. We're going to take about a 2-minute pause here for you to do that, so that I'm not talking, because it's hard sometimes to think at the same time whilst I'm talking. So 2 minutes now to draw your stick person, or just write a few words around them about what you think makes them a good leader. Great. So we've got some really good ones coming through. I've come off sharing the screen so that I can see the chat function. So I also saw some great feelings as well. Excited. I liked gassed. That was brilliant. So, and really looking forward to it. And lots of you have started writing down some of the traits that you think, which are really good. So communication, teamwork, compassion, very, very good. Being able to delegate, trustworthy, really important, good listener, acknowledges the loud and outspoken and doesn't automatically mean that you're a good leader. I really like that. Having control, great. Organized, give good constructive feedback. Yeah, that's very good. And probably willing to listen to constructive feedback from other people as well. Caring, yeah. Brilliant. If anyone wants to come off mute to share, feel free to do so, but these are great in the chat. Goal-oriented, yes. You can tell this is why you guys are so good at Marrow, because it's all very actions, results driven. Love it. Great. Any more? Feel free to write them in the chat about what you think. Wise. That's a very good word. Responsible. And hopefully, because it will all tie together at the end of this session, you've written them down somewhere because we're going to use them later on in the session. Kind and friendly. Oh, someone's been really digital and sent a notebook. Oh gosh, I think that's too techy for me. Maybe we can download it later. Kind and friendly, really important. Okay, great. These are really, really good. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen again. So you've got those words written down and really great words in the chat function as well. So what we're going to cover now is the theory, because some of you, the words might have come easy, and others you might be thinking, oh, they're still quite like generic words. I'm not really sure what leadership skills are. Well, there are endless theories about leadership, but we're going to focus on one specific group of theories by two people called Coons and Posner, and it's based on a book that they have written, and that's what we're going to learn today from a theory perspective. So their book was called The Leadership Challenge, and it sold over 2 million copies year to date, and it's extremely evidence-based as they set out to understand what are the times when leaders performed at their personal best. They've conducted hundreds of interviews, case studies, and surveys, and done lots of questionnaires, and they've reviewed these over time since their first book was published in the 1980s. So the Leadership Challenge is what their book was called, and the main crux of their theory really is that you have 5 practices of exemplary leadership and then 10 commitments within these 5 practices. And practices and commitments are just the sort of academic way of saying 5 things and 10 things within them, really. And their leadership challenge, so their book states that observable behaviours plus practice, plus feedback from followers, plus the desire and persistence to succeed equals being an effective leader. And what's really great is that in that breakout session of thinking just then, lots of you picked up on some of these words about feedback from followers, succeed, practicing what you preach as well. So I'm just going to flash this up on the screen, and this is just a one-pager that shows you their 5 practices and the 10 commitments. Hopefully we can share the deck in some sort of way afterwards, so I'm not going to go through this now, but we're going to focus on each one as we go through the presentation. What we're going to do on each of the slides of each of the practices is discuss a few ideas about how that resonates in Marrow and the skills that you might associate with this practice. So the first is encourage the heart. And this touches on, from a principle perspective, celebrating the values and victories by creating a spirit of community and recognizing the contributions by showing appreciation for individual excellence. So, for example, it's really important, and hopefully this conference you'll see is a really great way of celebrating victories. But I'm going to give an example of a really effective leader showing this trait. If you've had a clinic, a sign-up session, and you have had people there, one of you mentioned about not always being the loudest and acknowledging that. Some people might be really loud, have signed up loads of people and got loads of ads to the register, and that's really, really great. But there might have been someone that was a little quieter, may not have done as well, but you've noticed that throughout the clinic that person, maybe they're a bit more shy, and it took them a lot to be able to come to the session, to be with new people, and to actually put themselves out there to go and speak to new people. And maybe for them, they got 1, 2, 10 people signed up and swabs taken during that clinic. But a great leader doesn't just either blanket thank everyone afterwards and just send an email out, and when people are leaving say, yeah, okay, bye, and then say thanks everyone afterwards. A great leader in this situation doesn't just thank the people that got the most. Like, oh, you got 50 today, this is brilliant, you're always so good, make sure you come next time. A great leader under this trait recognizes the appreciation of every individual. So even going up to that person, bringing them to the side, because they might not like being shown up in front of a lot of people, and just saying, you did a really good job today, I hope you enjoyed it, really appreciate you coming along. That's a really good example of great leadership. Does anyone have any questions on this? If you do, please come off mute, otherwise I'll have to stop the slides going back and forth. Right, we'll go as a no. So if we go through the other ones, so enable others to act is the next principle. So this is about increasing self-determination and developing competence, and fostering collaboration by building trust and facilitating relationships. So I hope that when we're going through this, that you're picking up some of the key words. Like I said, I'll share this afterwards, but the key word on this principle is enable. So great leadership is not just telling others what to do and then they do it. Enabling others to act is encouraging them to do it, motivating other people to do it, and then they do that by themselves. That gives people a better sense of belonging, a better sense of feel good, a better sense of autonomy for themselves. But what's really interesting here in the second line about fostering collaboration by building trust and facilitating relationships, you can often only motivate others when you've built that trust and a relationship with people, because then you can communicate better with them. And some of you mentioned the word trust when we brainstormed a minute ago, which is really great. So the next principle is challenge the process. And the commitments under this are to experiment and take risks by constantly generating small wins and learning from experience, and searching for opportunities by seizing the initiative and looking outward for innovative ways to improve. Now, there's no denying that all of you are really innovative, thinking of different things all the time. And that's why Every Marrow Group is so great, because some of the fundraising ideas that you do, some of the clinics that you run, the way that you go about things is extremely innovative. But it's so important as a great leader to challenge process. So a lot of you might be on committee, and what often happens with committee is you have a handover and you take over what's been done before. Sometimes it's great to carry on a legacy and continue what's been done, because there's nothing wrong with it, keep doing it again, and previous people have learned from their experience. But sometimes it's really important to challenge the process. So for example, if you always carol sing every Christmas outside the train station in your city or on your campus, and year after year it's been less and less successful, but you think, in the handover it said carol sing at Christmas, so we have to do that. Well, actually challenging the process and having that relationship with other people and saying, do you think that it might be a good idea that for this year we try not carol singing, but we do something else, and you have an innovative idea, then everyone's going to come on that journey with you. You've challenged the process, you've shown great leadership, and if it doesn't work, then that's fine. You've tried it and you can learn from that. But if it does, you're only going to make things better. And one of the things that I want you to think about through these traits is which of these resonate with you? Which of these can you see in other people? And which of these are you thinking, I'd like to do that better? So we're coming towards the end of the traits. And one of the penultimate one is inspiring a shared vision. And the commitments under this are enlisting others in a common vision by appealing to shared aspirations, and envisaging the future by imagining exciting, ennobling possibilities. So this, obviously, all of you are aware that you've got aims for the year, you've got targets that you might want to hit for yourselves, and there's things that you want to focus on, but you also might have a shorter term vision. So for this fundraiser, we want to raise this. But getting people to have that common vision, sharing it with you, hopefully you can see interlinks with some of the other traits that we've gone through. The last one, does anyone have a question? Sorry. No? Okay, the last one is about modeling the way. So this is really about leading by example. So setting the example, aligning action and shared values, clarifying your values by finding your voice and affirming shared values that you have with other people. So leading the way and leading by example. So hopefully that's sort of been the theory side of things, in case that really appeals to you to understand, well, what is and what are leadership skills? And going back to the original equation, is it's really important about feedback. And that's why I've put on this slide the 2 arrows. So it's so important to have all this practice, know about the theory, have maybe ideas in your head of what you're really good at and what you could improve. But it's so good to have feedback, give feedback and listen to feedback. So if you are quite a visual learner, think of this picture whenever you're thinking about your leadership journey, and feedback is just so important. I look back at my short career that I've had so far, and the pivotal moments that really stand out to me that I see as the most valuable or biggest turning points are when I've been given feedback, either good or constructive. And I sometimes, to be honest with you, hate it at the time. A lot of people don't really like taking feedback, but looking back on it and afterwards, it's been such a valuable experience for my whole leadership journey. The top 4 characteristics that this theory says that followers believe a leader should possess are being honest, forward-looking, competent, and inspiring, but always remembering that feedback thing. So like I mentioned at the beginning is, well, we know hopefully what leadership is now, what leadership skills really are, and we've got a few of these buzzwords going around, but how can they help in Marrow? Well, they can help with all the things that you're probably thinking about straight away. Also welcoming new people, conducting meetings, organising events, the planning of events, the running of clinics, communicating in all different scenarios about Marrow. So this is why I mentioned that you're a leader and you don't even know it already, because one of the great skills is about good communication. And I'm sure all of you are really eloquent when talking about Marrow. So whether it be friends, people when you're doing clinics or fundraising, or family as well. You can, by being a great leader, have more effective outcomes from your volunteers. You could potentially have better success rate at clinics because they're better organised, you've got people on that shared vision, people are motivated, you've enabled others to come and really want to give. And being a great leader should have that feel-good factor, because obviously you're getting all this positivity out of it as well. So I've gone through, and I think I've talked enough for a little bit now, about different scenarios and touched on the theory a little bit. I'd like you to think of a scenario in a Marrow situation where you can show leadership. So if anyone is willing to share, it would be great if one of you could share either on the chat or by coming off mute, something that you've got coming up, whether that be a committee meeting or whether that be an event coming up that you're planning, and share that one thing, and maybe we can then discuss in the chat or on mute about how we can show and develop leadership skills and how to be a great leader through that. Anyone? Anyone, any idea is welcome. Does anyone have a committee meeting coming up where they're going to be leading it? Does anybody have a fundraising event that they're organising? Oh, our group is planning 2 volunteer trainings and we don't seem to have much interest. Brilliant. Okay. So can anybody also add into the chat about what traits of a good leader could come through that? So whether that be planning, communicating to your committee, putting a shared vision of what you want from the trainings. Maybe write a few ideas down in the chat. Confidence, that's great. Motivating the committee, organisation, yeah. Spread more knowledge about the event, I really like that, yeah. So if people aren't really sure what it is or how can they be involved, how can they be motivated, that's really, really good. Decision making is important, yeah. Having that clarity. So whether it's you yourself making that decision or bringing people together to make a decision is really good. You're thinking about combining the 2 events, brilliant. Fake press. That's good. Oh. Zoe, do you want to share? Someone said, what's fake press? Like hyping the session up by saying there's limited tickets. Very good. The other thing probably to remember in that is about authenticity if you're a leader. So if you're the person that potentially decides to do that, but you're doing it for the greater good of the event, that you're running the team, so you're the event manager in your committee, but you let the other people in the committee know, oh, I'm going to do this so that we get a better outcome, then they don't feel like you fooled them, because truth is really important, relationships is really important, but also you're then achieving your result, aren't you, by an innovative idea. So getting the best of both worlds. Great. Okay, cool. So hopefully that sparked a few ideas that you can think about how you can identify good leaders, how you can be a great leader in some of these situations. So if I go back to the presentation. So just to summarize this section really, is remember that you don't have to be president to be a leader. So hopefully this has come through that anyone can be a leader, and we all have great characteristics already. There's some that we can develop. You're already showing and practicing leadership qualities through everything that you do with Marrow. And you can develop further qualities through Marrow to help for an improved experience and for other contexts too. So what I'd like you to do now to end this section, again on your either old school pen and paper like me, or on your notes on your computer is to note down words or qualities that you've seen throughout this presentation so far that you really like and resonate with, and you think, that's me as a leader. To note down and identify a quality that you'd like to develop, and then potentially to think of a situation coming up that you can practice this in. So I'm just going to give 2 minutes for everyone to do that. Okay, just under 2 minutes. So hopefully you've got something written down that you can take away from this session that will be really, really valuable. And like I said, I can share the deck hopefully afterwards through one of the Maro team in case that's really useful. But one of the things that I want to reassure you is if you've listened to all of this and thought, oh, I knew this anyway, it's so simple, it's really simple, I know those characteristics I have and I can articulate them really well. Well, that's so good, because it just shows how much you are ahead of your peer group. Because if this seems simple to you, then it's not simple to everyone, and it's not obvious to everyone that these are the skills that are what being a great leader is. So if it does seem simple, then take this as great reassurance that you're doing really well. But the thing that I challenge you with is, are you articulating your skills in the right way when you're looking at applications for different things within university or outside of university? Or are you helping other people reach their leadership potential? What better way, if you already know that you're a great leader and you've had time to develop your own skills, than help other people reach that potential as well? And being part of Maro, there's so much more that we get out of it, from running the clinics, from helping the charity, from helping Anthony Nolan and the charity. And imagine helping other people improve their leadership skills. Absolutely brilliant. So that ties me nicely onto, how can leadership skills help in a life after Maro? I've put the shocked face in there because you were all probably at university thinking, oh my God, there isn't even life after Maro or after university. I thought exactly the same. When I was finishing, I was like, what am I going to do afterwards? But they can help a lot in identifying the skills that you have to make you more self-aware, enabling you to articulate yourself better, to sell your qualities. And this can be applicable in applications, interviews, CVs, and basically all elements of life. This is a little plug. I mentioned that I'm part of Maro alumni, and the other people within the Maro Alumni Committee are running a CV skills workshop on Wednesday at 6. So if you think, right, I've now got a toolkit of words and I'm more self-aware of my leadership skills, but crikey, I don't even know where to put that in a CV. How do I talk about Maro from a leadership perspective? Then attend this workshop and it will be brilliant to help you with that. If you are already thinking about work, I wanted to tie in the theory that we went through earlier to show you that whatever walk of life or work you end up going into, these theories are used everywhere. And here's just a couple of examples of companies that use the theory, embrace leadership and embrace leadership development. So I'm sure if this is probably the first thing you've ever attended about leadership, this definitely won't be the last. And what I wanted to touch on this section, and I hope to finish a little bit early so that you can carry on with your evenings, or we can have a nice discussion, you can have some time to ask questions. But on this section, I just want to quickly touch on the idea of being a manager versus a leader, because the two words are used so interchangeably, and that's really bad. And it may be a long time before a lot of us get to management levels. And management is basically the title that you get given when you have subordinates either under you, like reporting into you, or an area that you manage. But in a perfect world, managers should be leaders. But to be a leader, you do not have to have the title of a manager. You can have leadership qualities, be a leader, but without having it in your job title or needing that. But you can be a manager, but be an extremely poor leader, which is not the best situation. And on this graph here, it just shows some of the words that are associated with that difference of managing people and leading them. But like I said, the perfect situation is that you are a leader and a manager, and you don't have some of the more negative traits that are on there about power and control, authoritarian style, etc. The perfect situation is that you are a leader and you have the title of a manager. And I want you to remember, if it hopefully makes you laugh, that you have to remember that you don't need the actual title to be something with this visual. Hopefully a lot of you get it, that she's the queen, that she's the queen bee. So just remember, you don't need to have the title to be that thing. And this is so applicable now and in the world of work. So just to summarize what we've covered and what can you do now, is we've covered what are leadership skills. We've identified the key words of skills, learnt the theory behind it, and hopefully learnt how to identify these skills in some of the things you do through Marrow. How can they help in Marrow? Obviously, you have situations where you show leadership qualities already, and hopefully you've identified an area where you can develop them and make your Marrow experience a lot more fruitful. And how can they help in life after Marrow? Well, hopefully you've got a little bit more clarity of how you can integrate this into your CV. The CV workshop, I don't want to take any of their golden nuggets away, is on Wednesday. And hopefully you've seen the difference between a manager and leader without going into the depths of that area. So that brings us really nicely to the last little bit, where we've got about a quarter of an hour to either finish early or for you to ask any questions or have a discussion. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and please feel free to ask questions, whether it's related to the presentation, whether it's related to leadership, or whether it's related to when I was in Marrow, or what we do in Marrow Alumni, or anything to do with my work as well. So I've got a question. How did I know about Marrow and what made me join? That's a very good question. Everyone has lots of different reasons for joining. So my knowledge of Anthony Nolan actually started in 2002. And I have been the recipient of a stem cell transplant. So I heard about Anthony Nolan then. And obviously everything's gone very well. And when I told people that I knew that worked at Anthony Nolan, I was going to university, they told me about this thing called Marrow, and I was like, yes, I need to sign up. And so I went straight and found that the freshers there, and that's why I joined. What's your favourite thing about Marrow? Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for sharing. Not at all. And hopefully, I'm sure maybe lots of stories resonate with all of you guys, but there's motivation to keep going. What's your favourite thing about Marrow alumni? So my one favourite thing is probably the sort of altruistic nature that Marrowers have to just want to give back and just to do good. And the commitment and the keenness and everything does not stop. I'm president this year of the alumni committee, and everybody involved is just so brilliant, so enthusiastic. And I think you get that with Marrow anyway when you're in uni, and it doesn't stop when you're an alumni. Is it hard to balance Marrow with your job? That's a very good question. It is. My job, particularly at the moment, is very full on in terms of the hours that I work. I say at the moment, it's actually got worse since we started working from home, because the demand that I have to be in meetings all day and then still get my job done in the evening means that if I was in an office, people can physically see that I'm in a meeting room and that I'm jumping between meeting rooms and that I can't do anything else in between. And if I was to stay into the office to the hours that I do here at home, Nestle's got an amazing culture of not trying to encourage that much overworking, but I'm not in the office, I'm not visible, and unless anyone else can see that I'm logged on really late, then they don't know. So obviously I do communicate and manage expectations with my manager to tell her about my workload, but balancing Marrow with a job is difficult, but the way that I see it is it's light relief, and it's so nice to have something so different to work on and be involved with that isn't the corporate world. And the other thing is we get 2 days of annual leave a year to devote to charity volunteering. So in previous situations, I would have done 2 days physically at an event, but that's probably no longer possible. But I'm sure I can use the 2 days at some point for charity work, which will obviously be Marrow. Does anyone else have any questions? You're welcome. What leadership skills do you think are most underrated? Oh, that's a very good one. I think listening is a very underrated leadership skill, because you see those people that listen, take things in, really hear what people say, take the most out of what everybody is saying to them, and they also don't do this thing that is a theory called listening with intent. So some people listen and they know what they're going to say afterwards, or they listen and they hear what they want to hear. But if you have the skill of listening, the value that you get out of it by hearing loads of people's opinions, taking into account what you've just heard, giving yourself thinking time to process what you've just heard and then act on it, is a trait of a brilliant leader, I believe. And as lots of you mentioned when we went through traits, is some people always see leaders as the people that shout the loudest or speak the most or are the most visible at events or at things, but I don't always think that's the way. So the next question is, how can I present myself as a leader visually and become more approachable? So how can I present myself as a leader visually and become more approachable? I think, so one of the theories obviously talked about building relationships with people and building trust. And I think having really good communication with people and building that rapport with people enables you to be more visual, because you're visual in those people's thoughts or front of mind, and tailoring your communication to the people that you're with is really important. So, and it's a circle really, because the more you know someone, the more you can tailor the communication to them. But if you are on a committee, and it's really difficult potentially at the moment to meet up all the time, you might find that individually WhatsApping someone on committee is actually really effective, because you get really good value from them and really great discussion. Or you might find that ringing someone makes you have that really good rapport with them. And other people might just like to message on your group WhatsApp or on emails only with them. But once they've got that relationship with you, and then you start doing other things, then you're really visible in their mind, because you've got that relationship and trust and rapport with them. And becoming more approachable, I think, is to the point that I mentioned about tailoring your communication. So approachable is subjective, isn't it? Because everyone sees you as approachable in different ways. But trying new things with different people, seeing what works really well, will hopefully make you more approachable. No problem. Please feel free to ask any more questions in the chat function or coming off mute. If we don't have any more, I'm going to do one last shameless plug. And as part of alumni, we have a LinkedIn community. And I'm not sure how many of you have LinkedIn, or whether it's relevant to the area that you want to go into. Or if you're in first year and you think LinkedIn is so relevant right now, LinkedIn is so relevant and it's so great at lots of things. And we know that you're probably on a lot of social channels with different people. So we are on social media with Marrow as Marrow alumni, but you might follow too many alumni, too many Marrow things and not want to do that. But if you run your groups socials, please follow us back. But from a personal perspective, we have the Marrow alumni community on LinkedIn. So please give us a like. And if you think a LinkedIn session would be valuable, please, I don't know if there's going to be like a feedback form, I think, do mention that, because it was one of the things that I thought of when I wrote this slide. I was like, if you don't have LinkedIn already, then this is a rubbish and not very useful slide. But if you do, link in with us. And also, if any of you are interested in the area of work that I work in, and Nestle also has lots of technical roles as well, like scientifically based ones as well, or graduate schemes in general, then feel free to link in with me as well. So I'll type my name in the chat. My last name is Botting. And it would be great to link in with you and potentially put a LinkedIn profile picture to your name as well. You can join it if you're still at university. So obviously the community is there for people anyway, and some of the content you might not find as relevant that we share, but our LinkedIn is still up and coming. And the one thing also is, if you're in towards the end of your university journey, is you might forget about Marrow afterwards. It's hard to believe right now, but things get in the way, applying for jobs gets in the way, moving cities gets in the way, and we don't want you to drop off a cliff of not staying in the community. So you don't have to do it now, but it's a way to not forget about it and still be involved for when the time comes that you leave university and your specific Marrow group. And if it's not relevant to you, then please share within your group as well, to any people that haven't joined the call. So that's it. We finished a little bit early. I'd like to thank you all so much for coming. I hope you found the session enjoyable, valuable, fun, and gassed, which was one of the words. Hope you're still gassed. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of the week. Still gassed.